The Elysium glided through the silent void, its hull reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. Captain Arya Voss sat in her command chair, her gaze fixed on the main view screen. The Helio sector, once teeming with life and activity, now appeared as a dark blot on the galactic map. "Status report," Arya ordered, her voice steady but edged with concern. Lieutenant Kieran Malik, the ship's science officer, tapped rapidly at his console. "No transmissions detected, Captain. All standard frequencies are dead. It's as if the entire sector just vanished." Arya frowned. "Any signs of debris? Radiation spikes? Anything that could indicate what happened?" "Negative," Kieran replied, shaking his head. "Sensors are picking up nothing but background cosmic noise." From the navigation pit, Ensign Tessa Lark chimed in. "We're approaching the last known coordinates of Helios Prime. ETA, 5 minutes." Arya glanced around her bridge crew. Each face reflected the same unease she felt. "Stay sharp, everyone. We don't know what we're walking into." As the Elysium drew closer, the silence deepened. No welcoming beacons. No automated hails. Just the cold, unyielding darkness. Suddenly, a faint blip appeared on Kieran's screen. "Captain, I'm detecting a signal, very weak, intermittent. It's not human." Arya leaned forward. "Can you isolate it?" "I'll try," Kieran said, fingers flying over the controls. A distorted, rhythmic pulse echoed through the speakers, like a heartbeat lost in static. Arya's eyes narrowed. "Set a course for the signal's origin. Full sensor sweep. Let's find out who, or what, is out there." The Elysium's engines hummed as the ship altered course, gliding silently toward the source of the mysterious signal. The bridge lights dimmed as the crew's tension grew palpable. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, Tessa announced, her voice barely above a whisper. The main view screen flickered, revealing a strange silhouette drifting against the starfield. It was an alien vessel, enormous, with a hull that shimmered and warped the light around it, as if reality itself bent to its presence. Kieran's eyes widened. "That's nothing like anything in the archives. The hull composition is off the charts." "Magnify," Arya ordered. The image zoomed in, revealing intricate patterns etched into the alien ship's surface, glyphs that seemed to pulse with a faint, inner light. "Life signs?" Arya asked. Kieran shook his head. "None. The ship's systems are barely functioning. Whatever happened here, it was catastrophic." Arya stood, her decision made. "Prepare an away team. Kieran, you're with me. Tessa, you have the bridge." As the away team suited up, Arya glanced at her reflection in the visor of her helmet. She steadied her breath, pushing down the fear gnawing at her insides. The shuttle docked with the alien vessel's airlock. The doors hissed open, revealing a corridor bathed in eerie, shifting light. The walls seemed to ripple as the team stepped inside. "Stay close," Arya whispered, her voice echoing in the silence. They advanced cautiously, weapons ready. The corridors twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the heart of the ship. Strange symbols lined the walls, glowing softly as they passed. Suddenly, a holographic projection flickered to life before them, a tall, ethereal figure speaking in a language none of them understood. The message repeated, urgent and insistent. Kieran's voice trembled. "Captain, I think it's trying to warn us." Arya stared at the projection, her mind racing. "Let's record everything. We need to get this back to the ship." The warning echoed in their ears as they retraced their steps, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them with every step. Back aboard the Elysium, the away team gathered in the main lab. The holographic recording of the alien figure hovered above the table, its features shifting and indistinct, its voice a cascade of unfamiliar syllables. Kieran hunched over his terminal, running the message through the ship's universal translator. "It's not matching any known language families," he muttered, frustration evident in his tone. Arya paced behind him, arms crossed. "Keep at it. There has to be a pattern." Lieutenant Mara Chen, the ship's linguist, entered, her eyes lighting up as she saw the projection. Let me try something. She adjusted the playback, isolating segments of the message and comparing them to ancient galactic scripts. As the hours dragged on, the crew's anxiety grew. The bridge buzzed with quiet speculation. What had happened to the Helio sector? What did the message mean? Finally, Mara's face broke into a triumphant grin. I've got a partial translation. Listen. The projection shimmered, and the alien's voice was overlaid with a synthesized translation. To those who find this, beware the Voidborn. It comes for the stars. It devours all light, all life. We tried to warn you. We tried to fight. We failed. Flee, or prepare. A heavy silence fell over the lab. Kieran swallowed hard. Voidborn? What is that? Mara shook her head. No direct translation. But from the context, it's something ancient. Something powerful. Aria's jaw tightened. And it's coming here. The captain turned to her crew, her voice resolute. We need to learn everything we can from this ship. Scan for data cores, logs, anything that can tell us more about the Voidborn. As the team prepared to return to the alien vessel, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time, that something vast and terrible was already drawing near. The away team suited up once more, the tension thicker than before. Arya led the way, her helmet's comms crackling as she addressed her team. Stay alert. We're looking for anything that might help us understand the Voidborn, logs, schematics, even personal effects. Kieran clutched his scanner, eyes darting nervously. The ship's power grid is unstable, Captain. We'll need to move quickly. They moved deeper into the alien vessel, passing through a chamber lined with crystalline consoles. Mara's eyes widened as she examined the controls. These look like data interfaces. I'll try to access them. She connected her portable translator, watching as alien glyphs flickered across her screen. It's encrypted, but I think I can break it. Suddenly, the lights in the chamber flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. Aria's hand went to her sidearm. Did anyone else see that? Kieran's voice was barely a whisper. Movement, on the far side of the room. A faint, ghostly shape drifted through the darkness, its form indistinct and wavering. The team froze, weapons raised, as the apparition hovered just out of reach. Mara's voice trembled. It's not solid. Some kind of residual energy? The shape seemed to watch them, then drifted toward a console, its hand passing through the controls. The console suddenly powered up, displaying a star map marked with ominous red lines. Kieran stared at the map. Those are star systems. All of them, crossed out. Aria's heart pounded. It's a record. The Voidborn's path. Mara's translator chirped, and a new message appeared. It moves from system to system. Consumes. Leaves nothing. We tried to hide, but it found us. Arya clenched her fists. We need to warn the fleet. And we need to find a way to fight this thing. As they downloaded the data, the ghostly figure faded, leaving only the cold, echoing silence, and the knowledge that the Voidborn was closer than they'd ever imagined. The Elysium raced back toward Federation space, its engines burning at maximum thrust. In the briefing room, Arya stood before a wall-sized display, the alien star map projected in stark relief. Red lines slashed across dozens of systems, each a grave marker in the dark. The bridge crew gathered around, joined by Admiral Rhea Solis via secure hololink. The Admiral's image flickered, her face drawn with worry. Captain Voss, you're certain of this data? Solis asked, her voice grave. Arya nodded. The evidence is overwhelming, Admiral. The Voidborn has already destroyed at least 20 systems. If we don't act, the Helio sector will only be the beginning. Kieran stepped forward, holding a data pad. We've analyzed the alien logs. The Voidborn doesn't just destroy planets, it consumes the very stars, leaving nothing behind. It's like a cosmic predator. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. And you believe it's headed for us? Mara spoke up, her tone urgent. The star map shows its trajectory. If it keeps moving at the same rate, it'll reach the core worlds in less than a year. A heavy silence filled the room as the implications sank in. Admiral Solis straightened, her voice steely. I'll convene the High Council immediately. In the meantime, Captain Voss, your orders are to continue your investigation. Find out if there's any way to stop this Voidborn. The fate of the Federation may depend on it. The hololink faded, leaving Arya and her crew alone with the weight of their mission. Tessa looked at Arya, her eyes wide. What do we do now, Captain? Arya's jaw set with determination. We go back to the alien ship. If there's any hope, any weapon, any knowledge, we'll find it. We're not letting the Voidborn consume our worlds without a fight. The crew nodded, resolve hardening in their eyes. The race against extinction had begun. The Elysium returned to the derelict vessel, tension mounting as the away team prepared for another incursion. This time, Arya brought an engineering specialist, Lieutenant Juno Park, hoping her expertise could unlock more of the ship's secrets. Inside, the corridors seemed even darker, the shifting lights dimmer than before. Juno examined the crystalline consoles, her fingers dancing over the strange controls. The architecture is beautiful, she whispered, awe in her voice. I think I can access deeper systems from here. Mara and Kieran stood by, ready to assist. The ghostly apparition did not reappear, but the team felt its presence, a silent witness to their efforts. Suddenly, a hidden panel slid open, revealing a narrow passageway. Arya led the way, her flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. The passage ended at a sealed door, etched with more of the pulsing glyphs. Juno studied the lock. It's some kind of biometric scanner. I'll try to bypass it. She connected her toolkit, and after a tense minute, the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, they found a chamber lined with data crystals, each one glowing with stored knowledge. Mara's eyes widened. This must be their archive. If there's anything useful left, it's here. The team quickly set up portable scanners, downloading as much data as possible. As they worked, Kieran's scanner beeped. Captain, I'm picking up a power surge, something's activating deeper in the ship. Arya's voice was calm but urgent. Juno, can you isolate it? Juno checked her readings. It's coming from the core. Something's waking up. The lights in the archive flickered, and a new hologram appeared, this one larger, more detailed. It showed a swirling mass of darkness, tendrils reaching out to engulf entire star systems. A synthesized voice echoed in the chamber, the Voidborn cannot be destroyed. Only contained. The seal is weakening. Beware. Arya exchanged a grim look with her team. Let's get this data back to the ship. We need to understand how they tried to contain it, and why they failed. As they hurried back, the ship seemed to shudder, as if in pain. The warning was clear, the Voidborn was stirring, and time was running out. Back on the Elysium, the command crew assembled in the strategy room, surrounded by projections of alien data and swirling models of the Voidborn. The tension was suffocating. Arya stood at the center, her gaze fixed on the largest hologram, the alien warning, now translated in full. Mara scrolled through the archive's data. The containment protocol was their last hope. They built a network of energy pylons across 3 star systems, creating a barrier to trap the Voidborn's essence. But the logs show, it broke free after only a few centuries. Kieran's brow furrowed. Why did it fail? Juno brought up a schematic. The pylons drew power from the stars themselves. When the Voidborn began consuming the energy, the network destabilized. It's like trying to cage a wildfire with dry grass. Arya's voice was quiet but firm. Is there anything we can use? Juno hesitated. The archive mentions a failsafe, a device left behind on a moon orbiting the dead star of the containment system. It's called the Stellar Anchor. The logs say it can disrupt the Voidborn's cohesion, at least temporarily. Kieran's eyes widened. A weapon? More like a last-ditch measure, Mara replied. It's dangerous. The energy release could collapse the star, or worse. Arya looked at her crew, determination burning in her eyes. We don't have a choice. Plot a course for the containment system. We'll retrieve the stellar anchor and figure out how to use it. As the Elysium prepared to jump, Arya called a private meeting with her senior officers. If this fails, we may be the last line of defense. I need everyone ready for anything. Tessa nodded, her voice steady. We won't let you down, Captain. The crew dispersed, each person carrying the weight of billions of lives. In the silence of her quarters, Arya stared out at the stars, wondering if they'd ever shine as brightly again. The Elysium slipped out of hyperspace on the edge of a lightless system. The star at its heart was a collapsed remnant, a black sphere absorbing all light, a grave marker for a failed containment. Around it, shattered planets drifted, their surfaces scorched and lifeless. Arya stood on the bridge, her crew silent as the devastation filled the view screen. Scan for the moon mentioned in the archive, she ordered. Kieran's fingers danced over the controls. I've got it. Small natural satellite, orbit decaying but still stable. There's a structure on the surface, artificial, matching the archive's schematics. Juno's voice was tense. Atmosphere is thin, but we can land. Radiation is within tolerable limits for a short duration. Arya nodded. Prep the lander. Mara, Juno, Kieran, you're with me. Tessa, you have the bridge. The lander descended, buffeted by turbulent winds. As they touched down, the team gazed out at a landscape of frozen ash and jagged rock. Ahead, the alien structure loomed, a spire of black metal, half buried in regolith, pulsing faintly with inner light. Inside, the air was thin and cold. Alien glyphs lined the walls, and a humming vibration filled the chamber. At its center stood the stellar anchor, a crystalline device suspended above a pool of swirling energy. Juno approached, scanning. The power readings are off the charts. If we activate it, the energy discharge could destabilize the moon. Mara studied the glyphs, translating. There's a sequence here, a ritual, almost. It describes how to prime the anchor, but warns of catastrophic backlash if done incorrectly. Kieran's voice was soft. They must have been desperate, to risk destroying their own world. Arya stepped forward, resolve in her eyes. We'll do it right. This is our only chance. As the team worked, shadows flickered in the corners of the chamber. The moon trembled, as if sensing the return of ancient power. Above, in the void, something vast and hungry began to stir. As the team worked in the moon's ancient chamber, the Elysium orbited above, sensors on high alert. Tessa monitored the ship's long-range scans, her fingers tense on the controls. Captain, we're picking up gravitational anomalies. Something massive is moving in the outer system. On the surface, Arya's comm crackled. Understood, Tessa. Keep us posted. We're almost ready. Juno adjusted the stellar anchor's crystalline core, sweat beading on her brow despite the cold. Power levels are rising. The containment field is forming, but it's unstable. Mara read from the glyphs, voice urgent. Sequence must be precise. If we misalign the harmonics, the energy will feed back. Catastrophic failure. Kieran's eyes flicked between his scanner and the growing swirl of energy. I'm detecting a surge, something's interacting with the anchor from outside. It's like, it's aware of us. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The pool of energy beneath the anchor pulsed violently, casting wild shadows on the walls. Something's coming. Kieran shouted. Above, on the Elysium, Tessa watched in horror as a darkness blotted out the stars, a vast, undulating mass, its tendrils reaching for the moon. Captain, the Voidborn is here. Arya's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her fear. Juno, now. Activate the anchor. Juno slammed her palm onto the final control. The chamber exploded with light as the stellar anchor unleashed a torrent of energy, forming a shimmering barrier around the moon. The Voidborn's tendrils struck the barrier, recoiling with a shriek that echoed in every mind. For a moment, the darkness faltered. The moon shook, cracked spiderwebbing through the chamber's floor. Arya grabbed Mara and Kieran, shouting, "Back to the lander. Move!" As they sprinted for the exit, the anchor's light began to flicker. The Voidborn pressed harder, its hunger undiminished. The team barely made it to the lander as the chamber collapsed behind them. The lander rocketed skyward, racing to the Elysium as the moon convulsed. On the bridge, Tessa guided them in, voice shaking. "Docking corridor open. Hurry!" As the team tumbled aboard, the crew watched the viewscreen in silence. The stellar anchor's barrier flickered, then flared, holding, for now. But the Voidborn circled, relentless. Arya steadied herself, voice grim. "We've bought time. But we need a permanent solution. Let's see what else the archive can tell us, before the Voidborn breaks through." The Elysium's return to Federation space was met with urgency. As the stellar anchor's data was analyzed, Arya and her senior crew were summoned to a secure holoconference with the High Council. The chamber flickered to life, revealing a ring of leaders, some resolute, others afraid. Admiral Solis's image appeared first. "Captain Voss, you've bought us time, but the Voidborn's presence is destabilizing the region. Reports of gravitational anomalies and mass panic are spreading. What is your assessment?" Arya stood tall. "The stellar anchor's barrier is holding, but it's temporary. The Voidborn is relentless. We need to act before it breaks free." A counselor from the Rim Worlds leaned forward. "You propose we use ancient alien technology that nearly destroyed its creators? What if we trigger another catastrophe?" Mara interjected, her voice steady. "We have new data from the archive. The containment failed because the energy network was incomplete. The aliens lacked the means to reinforce the barrier once the Voidborn adapted. We have the capacity to do better, if we act quickly." Another counselor, skeptical, asked, "And if we fail?" Juno spoke up. "If we do nothing, the Voidborn will consume system after system. The anchor is a stopgap. We need a permanent solution, something that disrupts its essence, not just contains it." Solis nodded grimly. "We'll begin mobilizing resources. Captain, assemble a task force. You'll have access to our best engineers and scientists. Find a way to strengthen the barrier, or destroy the Voidborn, if possible." As the meeting ended, Arya conferred with her crew. "We'll need to coordinate with orbital defense platforms, deploy drones, and prepare for direct engagement if the Voidborn breaches containment." Kieran added, "We should study space warfare tactics. Maneuverability, logistics, and weapon positioning will be critical if we're forced into battle." Arya agreed. "Let's get to work. The next move will determine the fate of every world we know." The crew dispersed, each carrying the weight of impossible choices. Outside, the stars seemed dimmer, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. The Elysium's hangar bustled with activity. Engineers and scientists from across the Federation arrived, bringing experimental weaponry, sensor arrays, and prototype drones. Arya watched as her crew coordinated the influx, her mind racing through tactical possibilities. In the strategy room, Kieran projected a 3D map of the containment system. "The Voidborn is testing the barrier. If it breaks through, we'll have minutes before it reaches our position." Juno added, "We've reinforced the stellar anchor's field with additional emitters, but it's a patchwork. If the Voidborn adapts, we'll need to fall back to direct engagement." Arya nodded. "Let's review our options. We'll need to integrate every asset, defense platforms, drones, and the Elysium itself, into a unified battle plan." Mara spoke up, "We've adapted the alien archive's tactics. The Voidborn is vulnerable to certain energy frequencies. If we synchronize our weapons, we might disrupt its cohesion long enough to drive it back. Kieran highlighted key positions on the map. Maneuverability is critical. If we stay mobile, we can avoid being outflanked or surrounded. The Voidborn is massive, but not agile. We'll use the moon's gravity to slingshot around and keep our distance. Juno added, we've equipped the drones with kinetic projectiles and directed energy weapons. They'll harry the Voidborn and herd it into our firing arcs. Arya's voice was resolute. We fight smart. We use the terrain, hide behind the moon, use its shadow to mask our approach. If we can force the Voidborn into a disadvantageous position, we strike with everything we have. The crew nodded, determination in their eyes. As the final preparations were made, Arya addressed her team. This is it. The fate of every world in the Federation rests on what we do next. We stand together, or we fall together. Outside, the darkness gathered, swirling hungrily beyond the barrier. The first battle for the survival of the galaxy was about to begin. The Elysium and its allied fleet took up positions in orbit around the moon, using its jagged surface as cover. Defense platforms anchored on the far side powered up, their energy projectors and missile batteries aimed at the swirling darkness pressing against the stellar anchor's barrier. Arya's voice echoed through the fleet's comms. All ships, maintain formation. Drones, deploy to the shadow of the moon. Keep your profiles low, use the terrain to mask your approach. We'll strike when the Voidborn breaches the field. Kieran monitored the sensors. It's probing the barrier, Captain. Multiple tendrils, testing for weak points. Juno coordinated with engineering teams. Emitters are holding, but power draw is spiking. If the Voidborn focuses its attack, we'll have minutes at best. Mara relayed orders to drone squadrons. Pattern Delta. Prepare to herd the entity toward the defense grid. Suddenly, the barrier flickered. The Voidborn surged, a wave of darkness crashing against the moon's surface. Kinetic projectiles and energy beams lanced out from the defense platforms, targeting the densest concentrations of the entity's mass. Direct hits. Kieran reported. It's fragmenting, recoiling from the synchronized frequencies. But the Voidborn adapted, coalescing and lashing out. A defense platform vanished in a burst of shadow and light. Keep moving. Arya barked. Don't let it pin us down. Use high acceleration maneuvers, slalom through the debris field. Make yourselves hard targets. The Elysium weaved through the chaos, its hull shuddering as near misses peppered the shields. Drones darted in and out, drawing the Voidborn's attention, then vanishing behind the moon's craters. Lasers, bounce fire off relay drones, catch it in a crossfire. Juno's orders crackled through the comms. The battle raged, a deadly dance of light and darkness. For every tendril severed, two more appeared. The Voidborn's hunger was endless. On the bridge, Arya gripped her chair, voice unwavering. We hold the line. For every world that still has light. As the first clash ebbed, the fleet regrouped, battered but unbroken. The Voidborn withdrew, swirling just beyond the barrier, its intent clear. This was only the beginning. In the aftermath of the first clash, the Elysium's command crew gathered to analyze their performance and refine their tactics. The bridge was quiet, the tension thick as Arya spoke. We held the line, but the Voidborn is adapting. We can't rely on brute force. We need to outthink it. Kieran brought up a tactical display, highlighting the fleet's maneuvers. Our best moments came when we used the moon's shadow and terrain for cover. The Voidborn sensors seem less effective when we mask our thermal and EM signatures. Juno nodded. High lateral acceleration and unpredictable, drunkwalk maneuvers made us harder to hit. The drones that survived were those that used the surface to break line of sight, then popped up for synchronized attacks. Mara added, we should increase the use of kinetic projectiles from higher orbits. They're hard to spot and can herd the Voidborn into kill zones. Lasers can be bounced off relay drones, allowing us to strike without exposing ourselves. Arya leaned forward. We'll seed the area with inert projectiles, mines, essentially. If we can force the Voidborn to move where we want, we can concentrate our firepower. And we'll keep shifting our positions, never letting it predict our next move. The crew nodded, determination returning to their faces. As the next wave of the Voidborn's assault began, the Elysium and its allies put their new tactics into action. Ships darted in and out of cover, drones relayed laser fire around the horizon, and kinetic barrages forced the entity into disadvantageous positions. The battle became a deadly chess match, with every move calculated for survival, but the Voidborn was learning, too. Each engagement grew fiercer, its attacks more cunning. The crew knew that only by staying one step ahead could they hope to last until a permanent solution was found. The Voidborn's attacks grew more sophisticated with each encounter. Its tendrils split and reformed, probing for weaknesses in the fleet's formation and the stellar anchor's barrier. The Elysium's crew responded with relentless adaptation, drawing on every tactical lesson and technological innovation at their disposal. Kieran briefed the command crew, highlighting new sensor data. It's learning our patterns. We can't repeat maneuvers, every engagement must be unique. We need to randomize our attack vectors and timing, keep it guessing. Juno added, we're modifying the drones with adaptive AI. They'll change tactics mid-battle, switching between kinetic barrages and synchronized laser bursts. We're also seeding the area with inert projectiles, space mines, to herd the Voidborn into kill zones or force it to expose vulnerable segments. Mara pointed to a new plan on the display. We'll use decoy ships, unmanned, radiating false signals. If we can lure the Voidborn into attacking them, we'll buy precious seconds to reposition or strike from unexpected angles. Arya nodded. And we'll leverage the moon's gravity and terrain. We'll slingshot around the surface, using high lateral acceleration and unpredictable, drunk-walk maneuvers to evade its attacks and keep our ships hard to target. As the next assault began, the fleet's tactics shifted constantly. Drones darted unpredictably, relay lasers bounced beams around the horizon, and kinetic projectiles rained from high orbits. The Voidborn, momentarily confused, recoiled under the onslaught, but the cost was high. Several drones and a manned corvette were lost when the entity adapted, unleashing a wave of shadow that overwhelmed their defenses. The survivors regrouped, battered but wiser. In the aftermath, Arya gathered her officers. We can't win by attrition. We need a breakthrough, something the Voidborn can't adapt to. Juno's eyes lit up. What if we disrupt its cohesion with a resonance cascade? The archive hinted at frequencies that destabilize its structure. If we can synchronize our emitters and hit it at just the right moment, Arya's determination sharpened. Prepare the cascade. Next time, we end this stalemate. The crew set to work, hope flickering amidst the darkness. The next battle would be their boldest yet. The Elysium Science Bay became a hive of feverish activity as Juno and Mara worked side by side, running simulations and recalibrating emitters. The plan was bold: synchronize the fleet's energy projectors to generate a resonance cascade, a focused wave of frequencies designed to disrupt the Voidborn's cohesion at its most vulnerable point. Juno explained the theory to Arya as the captain paced nearby. The archive describes a phenomenon where certain energy harmonics cause the Voidborn structure to destabilize. If we synchronize every emitter, drones, platforms, ships, and hit it with a precisely timed cascade, we might fracture its form, at least temporarily. Arya nodded, absorbing the risk. And if we get the timing wrong? Mara's voice was grave. The feedback could overload our systems, or worse, strengthen the Voidborn. We only get one shot. Kieran brought up the tactical display. We'll need to herd the Voidborn into a narrow kill zone. Mines, kinetic projectiles, and decoy ships will force it into position. Once it's contained, we trigger the cascade. The fleet prepared for the operation, every crew member briefed on their role. Drones were fitted with new resonance modules, their AI primed for split-second coordination. Defense platforms recalibrated their emitters, and the Elysium's main batteries were tuned to the critical frequency. As the Voidborn circled the moon, sensing the trap, Arya gave the order. All units, execute. The battle erupted in a storm of light and shadow. Drones and decoys darted, mines detonated, and the Voidborn was funneled into the designated zone. The fleet's emitters charged, a rising hum filling every comm channel. Now, Juno shouted. A blinding wave of synchronized energy lanced out, converging on the Voidborn's core. The entity writhed, its form fracturing as the resonance cascade tore through its essence. For a moment, the darkness split, tendrils flailing, fragments scattering across the void. On the bridge, Arya watched, hope and dread mingling in her chest. Did it work? Kieran's sensors flickered. It's destabilizing, breaking apart. But even as the crew cheered, Mara's voice cut through the celebration. It's not destroyed. The fragments, they're reforming. Outside, the Voidborn's pieces began to coalesce, slower than before but relentless. The resonance cascade had bought time, but the threat endured. Arya's jaw tightened. We heard it. Next time, we finish it. Prep for another cascade, and search the archive for anything we missed. We're not done yet. The crew set to work, determination burning brighter than ever. The final confrontation loomed, and with it, the fate of the galaxy. The aftermath of the resonance cascade left the Elysium's crew reeling. The Voidborn's fractured remnants drifted through space, swirling in chaotic patterns, their cohesion weakened but not destroyed. On the bridge, Kieran's sensors tracked the fragments with anxious precision. Captain, the entity's pieces are reforming, but much more slowly, he reported. The resonance cascade disrupted its structure, just as the archive predicted. But we may have triggered side effects. Localized spacetime distortions are appearing near the moon. Juno frowned at her readings. The energy we unleashed was immense. We're seeing gravitational anomalies, eddies in the fabric of space itself. If we push the cascade further, we risk opening rifts or causing unpredictable quantum events. Arya's jaw tightened. We're walking a razor's edge. If we overdo it, we could trigger a chain reaction, something like the Black Mesa incident from old Earth history, where a resonance cascade tore open a rift between dimensions and unleashed chaos. Mara, scrolling through the alien archive, looked up. The original containment failed when their resonance cascade destabilized spacetime. They tried to seal the Voidborn, but instead, they created portals, gateways the entity used to escape and spread. Kieran's voice was grim. If we're not careful, we could do the same. We have to find a way to target the Voidborn's essence without risking a full cascade event. Arya nodded. We'll use the resonance cascade again, but with tighter controls. Juno, work with the science teams to limit the energy spread. Mara, keep digging into the archive for any fail-safes or warnings we missed. Outside, the Voidborn's fragments began to pulse, drawn together by an unseen force. The crew braced for the next wave, knowing that every decision could tip the balance between salvation and catastrophe. As the stars flickered beyond the viewport, Arya made a silent vow: they would not repeat the mistakes of the past. This time, humanity would outweed the darkness, or be consumed by it. The bridge of the Elysium was tense, every console alive with warnings and data streams. Kieran's voice cut through the hum. Captain, the Voidborn's fragments are accelerating their recombination. The spacetime distortions are intensifying. If we trigger another full resonance cascade, we risk catastrophic rifts. Juno's hands hovered over her console, uncertainty in her eyes. The last cascade nearly tore the moon apart. If we push the energy any higher, we could destabilize the entire system. We're already seeing quantum anomalies, eddies in the fabric of space, like what's described in the Black Mesa incident. Mara, deep in the alien archive, looked up. The original builders tried to contain the Voidborn, but their final cascade event opened dimensional rifts. It's all here: uncontrolled teleportation, spontaneous portals. Their world was overrun. Arya paced, her mind racing. We can't risk a full cascade. But if we do nothing, the Voidborn will reform and consume everything. Is there a way to focus the resonance, target only the entity, not the surrounding space? Juno nodded slowly. It's possible. We can recalibrate the emitters to a tighter frequency band, minimizing collateral effects. But it'll require perfect synchronization. One mistake, and we could still trigger a chain reaction. Kieran added, we'll need to coordinate every ship, drone, and platform. The Voidborn will sense what we're doing and fight back. Arya turned to her crew, determination in her eyes. We're out of time. Prep the emitters and alert the fleet. Mara, keep searching for failsafes. Juno, work with engineering to lock down the frequency. Kieran, I want real-time telemetry on every anomaly. We do this by the numbers, no improvisation. As the crew sprang into action, Arya gazed out at the fractured darkness swirling beyond the viewport. The fate of the galaxy now hinged on their ability to walk the knife's edge between salvation and annihilation, a single, flawless strike to end the Voidborn, or the risk of unleashing chaos across the stars. The command center of the Elysium pulsed with tension. Every station was manned, every officer's eyes fixed on their screens. The fleet's emitters were recalibrated, their frequency bands narrowed to minimize collateral effects. One misstep, and the resonance cascade could become a disaster, echoing the infamous Black Mesa incident, where uncontrolled resonance had torn open rifts and unleashed chaos across dimensions. 3. Juno's voice was tight as she coordinated with engineering. All emitters locked to the new frequency. We're within 1/10 of a hertz across the fleet. Any deviation and we abort. Kieran monitored the Voidborn's fragments, now swirling in a furious gyre just beyond the moon. It's pulling itself together, faster this time. We have a narrow window before it regains full cohesion. Mara, poring over the alien archive, called out, the failsafe sequence is here. The original builders used a phased cascade, short, sharp pulses rather than a single overwhelming wave. It destabilizes the target's essence but avoids the runaway feedback that caused dimensional rifts. Arya nodded, her voice carrying the weight of command. We'll do it their way. Juno, program the emitters for phased pulses. Kieran, I want real-time anomaly tracking. Mara, stand by with the failsafe override. The fleet repositioned, using space warfare tactics honed in the previous battles, high lateral acceleration, unpredictable maneuvers, and the moon's gravity for cover. Drones darted through the debris, ready to relay the phased cascade. The Voidborn sensed the trap, lashing out with tendrils of shadow. Defense platforms shuddered under the assault, but the formation held. On my mark, Arya commanded. 3, 2, 1, fire. A series of sharp, synchronized energy pulses lanced out, each striking the Voidborn's core in rapid succession. The entity convulsed, its form flickering and fragmenting as the phased cascade tore at its essence. Space itself seemed to warp, but the distortions remained contained, containment holding. Juno shouted. No rifts detected, cascade is stable. The Voidborn shrieked, fragments spinning away, its hunger thwarted. For now, Arya exhaled, relief and exhaustion mingling. We've bought ourselves another chance. Prep for counterattack. We're not finished until the Voidborn is gone for good. The crew readied themselves, knowing the next strike could be the one that decided the fate of the galaxy. The aftermath of the phased cascade left the Voidborn scattered and weakened, but the battle was far from over. The Elysium's bridge was a flurry of activity as Arya and her crew prepared for the next phase. They knew the Voidborn would adapt, and so must they. Kieran reviewed the tactical display, highlighting the positions of allied ships, defense platforms, and the swirling remnants of the Voidborn. Captain, we need to maximize our maneuverability. The entity is regrouping, and if we're predictable, it'll cut us off or encircle us. Arya nodded. Keep our Delta V high. No direct engagements unless we have a clear advantage. Use the moon's shadow and debris for cover, never let it pin us down. Juno coordinated with the drone operators. Seed the area with inert projectiles, space mines. If we can herd the Voidborn into a kill zone, we'll concentrate our firepower. Drones will relay laser fire around the horizon, keeping us out of direct line of sight. Mara added, we should use decoy ships and false signals, drawing the Voidborn's attention away from our main force. Every engagement must be unique, no repeated patterns. As the Voidborn's fragments reformed, the fleet executed a series of unpredictable maneuvers. Ships darted through low orbits, using the planet's disk to mask their signatures. Kinetic projectiles rained from higher orbits, forcing the entity into disadvantageous positions. Lasers bounced off relay drones, striking from unexpected angles. The Voidborn lashed out, but the fleet's agility and coordination kept casualties low. Every move was calculated to bring the most weapons to bear while keeping a minimal target profile, an intricate dance of survival and strategy. Aria's voice was steady over the comms. Remember, the hand can't hit what the eye can't see. Stay unpredictable. Stay alive. As the battle raged on, the crew realized that victory would not come from brute force alone, but from the artful application of tactics, deception, and unity of command. The fate of the galaxy depended on their ability to outmaneuver the darkness, one move at a time. As the battle raged, Aria realized the next phase would require not just courage, but mastery of space warfare's unique demands. She called her senior officers to the strategy room, the holodeble alive with shifting projections of orbits, enemy vectors, and allied positions. Kieran highlighted the tactical situation. The Voidborn's fragments are regrouping, but we can exploit its pattern recognition. If we keep shifting our positions and vary our attack vectors, we'll stay unpredictable. Juno nodded, referencing the fleet's fuel and weapon reserves. We're running low on drones and kinetic projectiles. We'll need to maximize the effect of every shot, herd it toward our remaining mines and focus our synchronized laser fire at its weakest points. Mara added, we should use decoy ships and false sensor signatures to draw the Voidborn's attention. If we can make it commit to a false target, we can strike from the flank. Aria considered the advice, recalling principles from both naval history and modern space doctrine. Constant, unpredictable maneuvers would frustrate the Voidborn's targeting and keep the fleet safe. Economy of force meant every ship and weapon had to be integrated into a single, adaptive plan. Unity of command was essential. Every drone, ship, and platform had to act in concert, with clear objectives and instant communication. 5. She issued her orders. Kieran, coordinate with the scouts, low-emission ships with deep space sensors. They'll stay ahead of our main force, feeding us real-time targeting data. Juno, prep the arsenal ships for a concentrated missile barrage. Mara, synchronize the command ship's fire solutions and ensure every decoy is transmitting on the right frequencies. The fleet moved as one, shifting orbits, hiding behind the moon's disk, and using relay drones to bounce laser fire around the horizon. The Voidborn lunged at a decoy, only to be ambushed by a barrage of kinetic projectiles and focused energy beams. On the bridge, Aria watched the tactical display, her voice calm. We're not just fighting a monster, we're fighting its instincts. Keep it guessing. Keep it off balance. And when the opening comes, we strike with everything we have. The battle became a test of wits, fleet against entity, commander against the unknown. In the cold silence of space, every maneuver, every shot, and every decision counted. The Elysium's fleet maneuvered relentlessly, every ship and drone shifting orbits and attack vectors in a calculated display of unpredictability. The Voidborn's fragments, now more cautious and reactive, lunged at decoys and false signals, only to be met by concentrated fire and kinetic barrages. Kieran's voice rang out on the bridge. Captain, the entity's adapting to our patterns, but our constant maneuvers are keeping it off balance. Its attacks are less coordinated, it's struggling to anticipate our next move. Aria nodded, recalling the core principles of space warfare. Constant, unpredictable maneuvers frustrate enemy targeting and disrupt their plans. Economy of force, every asset must be integrated for maximum effect. Unity of command, coordinated action is essential in the chaos of orbital battle. 7. Juno reported, "We've seeded the area with our last kinetic projectiles. Mines are forcing the Voidborn into our kill zones. Drones are relaying laser fire from unexpected angles, and our decoys are drawing its attention away from the main force." Mara added, "The phased cascade is ready. We'll need to herd the Voidborn's core into the designated zone. Timing and coordination will be critical." Arya issued her orders, voice calm but urgent. "All ships, maintain high delta V, use the moon's shadow and debris for cover, and keep shifting positions. Kiran, coordinate the scouts for real-time targeting. Juno, synchronize the emitters for the cascade. Mara, prepare the override." The fleet executed a final, intricate maneuver, ships slingshotting around the moon, drones darting in and out of craters, decoys flaring with false signals. The Voidborn lunged, only to be trapped in the crossfire. Fire. Arya commanded, the phased cascade lanced out, energy converging on the Voidborn's core. The entity convulsed, its form destabilizing, fragments scattering and failing to reform. A hush fell over the bridge as sensors confirmed the result. For the first time, the darkness was truly receding. Arya exhaled slowly. "We did it. The tide has turned." But as the crew celebrated, Arya's gaze lingered on the stars. The battle was won, but the art of space warfare, and the vigilance it demanded, would shape the galaxy's fate for generations to come. As the last echoes of the phased cascade faded, the battered fleet drifted in uneasy silence. The Voidborn's fragments, once a swirling storm of darkness, now floated inert, broken, scattered, and for the first time, powerless. The Elysium's bridge was quiet, the crew absorbing the magnitude of what they had survived. On the main screen, debris from destroyed drones and ships glinted in the cold starlight, a somber tableau of sacrifice and endurance. Arya stood at the viewport, her reflection superimposed over the wreckage, a commander both victorious and burdened by loss. Kiran's voice was subdued. "Captain, we're receiving damage reports from across the fleet. Several ships are crippled. We've lost contact with 2 corvettes. Rescue teams are already searching the debris field." The grim reality of space warfare was clear. Even victory left scars, and the aftermath was as much about survival as the battle itself. Juno coordinated with medical and engineering teams, dispatching drones to retrieve escape pods and ferry wounded to the Elysium's infirmary. The ship's AI quietly logged each casualty, each hull breach, each system failure. Mara, reviewing the alien archive, spoke softly. The original builders left warnings not just about the Voidborn, but about the cost of fighting it. They lost worlds, families, entire civilizations. We were luckier, but only just. Arya gathered the bridge crew. "We honor the fallen by ensuring their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Begin repairs, support the wounded, and prepare a memorial transmission for all ships. We'll send word to the Council, the threat is ended, but the lessons will shape our future." As the fleet drifted amid the silent wreckage, the survivors reflected on the price of victory. Space battles, they knew, were not just won with tactics and firepower, but with resilience, unity, and the will to endure the aftermath. The stars shone cold and distant, bearing witness as the galaxy took its first, tentative breath of peace. In the days that followed the battle, the Elysium and its battered fleet drifted in a somber ballet, survivors tending to the wounded and sifting through the debris field for signs of life. The aftermath was stark: twisted hulls, shattered drones, and the silent remains of ships that would never return. Arya stood in the command center, overseeing rescue and recovery operations. "Continue searching for escape pods and survivors," she ordered quietly. "Every life matters." Medical teams worked tirelessly, tending to injuries both physical and psychological. The loss of comrades weighed heavily on the crew, a reality faced by all who serve in the void. NASA protocols for spaceflight fatalities echoed in their actions: dignified handling of remains, support for the grieving, and careful documentation for families and command. In deep space, where returning home might not be possible, the crew prepared for memorials and, if necessary, in situ disposition of the fallen 5. A private ceremony was held in the observation deck. The survivors gathered, gazing out at the field of wreckage illuminated by distant starlight. Arya spoke, her voice steady but thick with emotion. "We honor those who gave everything to protect our worlds. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten." A moment of silence followed, the only sound the hum of the ship and the distant echoes of loss. The crew knew the scars of battle would linger, but so would the bonds forged in adversity. As the fleet began repairs and the first transmissions of hope reached the wider galaxy, the survivors resolved to carry forward the lessons, and the memory, of those lost in the void. With the immediate crisis over, the Elysium's crew turned to the solemn duties that followed any major space battle. The debris field was combed for escape pods and survivors, but also for the remains of those lost, a task carried out with the utmost respect and care, following protocols shaped by both tradition and necessity. Medical and command teams referenced established procedures for handling fatalities in space. Dignified recovery and identification of remains were paramount, even in the harshest environments. Where possible, bodies were secured for eventual return to homeworlds or families. For those whose return was impossible, the crew prepared for in situ disposition, carefully planned burial at sea, in the void, as outlined in deep space mission protocols. This included selecting a trajectory that would not endanger inhabited worlds or future missions, and ensuring the process was conducted with ceremony and respect. NASA's own guidelines were followed, forensic documentation and identification were performed as far as resources allowed, behavioral health support was provided for the surviving crew, with time set aside for private communications with families and for memorial observances. Ceremonial considerations were honored, with a private area designated for the crew to hold a farewell, and personal effects secured for return to loved ones. Arya led a final memorial, her words echoing through the observation deck as the crew gathered one last time. "We send our fallen to the stars with honor, and we carry their memory forward. Their sacrifice lights our path as we rebuild." The fleet's survivors stood in silence, watching as the ceremonial beacon drifted into the void, a symbol of loss, resilience, and the enduring bonds forged in the crucible of space warfare. As the Elysium set course for home, the lessons of the battle, and the cost, would remain etched in every heart, guiding the next generation of explorers and guardians among the stars. With repairs underway and the last memorial beacon vanishing into the infinite dark, the Elysium and her fleet set a slow course for home. The journey through the battered system was quiet, the crew subdued but resolute. Each survivor carried memories of the fallen, but also a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to honor their sacrifice by building a safer future. In the strategy room, Arya met with her senior officers. "The Council wants a full debrief. They'll want to know how we stopped the Voidborn, and how close we came to disaster." Mara nodded, her eyes weary but determined. The Archive's warnings were clear: power without wisdom leads to catastrophe. "We survived because we adapted, respected the risks, and never lost sight of what we were fighting for." Juno added, "We've learned more about space warfare in these days than in decades of training. Maneuverability, deception, and unity of command saved us as much as any weapon." Kieran looked out at the stars. "And we learned the value of every life. No victory is complete if we forget the cost." As the Elysium approached Federation space, transmissions of relief and celebration poured in from across the galaxy. Worlds that had watched the darkness grow now saw hope rekindled. The crew's story would become legend, a testament to courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable will to survive. Arya addressed her crew one final time before docking. "We stood together against the unknown. We endured loss, faced impossible odds, and prevailed, not just through strength, but through heart and unity. Let this be our legacy." As the airlocks opened and the first rays of a distant sun touched the Elysium's battered hull, the crew stepped forward into a new era. The galaxy, forever changed, awaited their next chapter, and among the stars, the memory of the fallen shone on, a beacon for all who would dare to defend the